I've got some exciting news to bring you guys today. An update on sort of an ongoing thread of rumors involving an upcoming Pixel device. So you guys know I reviewed the Pixel 6a on this channel and I levied some pretty high praise on it, and I would continue to do so. It is a very, very good device. And in fact, I would say if you're looking for a phone for less than $500, the Pixel 6a is going to be a really, really easy answer for me. The camera is fantastic. The software is great. My wife has been daily driving our Pixel 6a for the last, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. She's actually put down her Z Flip 3 to use that Pixel, and she's enjoying the camera. She's enjoying the Google Pixel experience once again. She's always been a big fan of Pixel phones, so she feels right at home on those devices. And we've wondered, with the 6a being as strong as it was and taking up this new design language that the Pixels now have, the sort of visor there across the back like you see on my Pixel 7 Pro here, what would the Pixel 7a be like? These A devices are often, for me, just as exciting as the Pro devices are, because they're coming in at such a lower price point. Seeing what Google can squeeze into that lower price point is really exciting. And that kind of brings us to this Twitter thread here. Kuba on Twitter has been basically digging into the APK files for Google Camera and extracting, data mining, if you will, information out of that, finding code names for devices and then making predictions based on that as to what we will be seeing. And they've got a really, really good thread here to go over of what Pixel 7a might end up being, what it might look like, what it might have under the hood, so to speak. And it is all very, very positive. So let's kind of get started on this. We had seen a Pixel Lynx, a codename Lynx or L10 referenced for a while now in these APKs, and for a long time. Because of the specs that were there, we thought maybe this was going to be a Pixel Ultra, a device that was going to be a step above the Pro device. And in fact, we talked about this on this channel because there's some really interesting stuff going on when you looked at those specs. The previously leaked specs from the camera APKs showed these sensors, right? A GN1, which is the same 50 megapixel sensor that is in the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 7, but also an IMX787 and an IMX712. Now, this was very interesting and very confusing because the 787 is a 64 megapixel camera and then the 712 is a 13 megapixel camera. So we were wondering and basically assuming here this is going to be a Pixel Ultra with the same primary camera as what we have here, but a 64 megapixel telephoto perhaps, and then a 13 megapixel ultra wide. Made sense to call it an Ultra. Well, now it has been modified. What we've data mined, what Kuba has data mined, has removed the GN1 lens, leaving us with just the 64 megapixel 787 and the 13 megapixel 712. That is why we are now pretty sure this is actually not a Pixel Ultra, but a Pixel 7a. Kuba also says here he checked the camera drivers and found references that confirm Lynx could in fact be a mid-range device. Its camera setup is called Pixel 22 mid-range compared to Pixel 22 premium on the 7 and 7 Pro. So at that point, our 7a would have a 64 megapixel primary that's actually more megapixels than you have in the regular Pixel, and then a 13 megapixel ultra wide. So that is a massive improvement over the 12.2 and the 12 that we had on the 6a. They go on to say here that L10 wide is what we're calling the 787, and that makes sense. Keep in mind there's a wide and an ultra wide, not a primary and an ultra wide. Technically the primary is a wide lens, and then ultra wide we see for the 712. So all of this makes a lot of sense. Apparently there's reason to think that the 7a might be the first Tensor device to use Qualcomm's new Wi-Fi and Bluetooth modem, which could be an improvement on what we have currently. I know there's some modem problems with Tensor in general. I'm not sure if this really would help with all of it because most people's modem problems tend to be more to do with data, not with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but still potentially good to see there. Some new features could come along. Really, really interestingly, though, is that they've been able to determine that the display on the Pixel 7a is a 90 Hz 1080p panel from Samsung. One of the things that people were the most upset about with the Pixel 6a, right? They're like, oh, for that price, it needs to be 120 Hz or at least 90 Hz. And I can understand that. I don't think it's that big of a deal using the device. You stop kind of noticing refresh rate really, really quickly. It's one of those things where if you're on 60, and then you switch to a phone that's 90, you go, wow, this feels much better. And then like 2 days later, you don't actually notice that it's 90 anymore unless you go back to a 60. Your eyes adjust to it really quickly. But Apparently going to be a 90 hertz display, which is really, really nice to have. And yeah, as you can see here for the rest of this, if they're able to keep that price point the same, keeping this at $449, oh my Lord, would this be an incredible phone for that price. The value proposition would be absolutely incredible. It would be ticking all the boxes really that people were complaining about before. Wireless charging, high refresh rate, and giving us a brand new camera setup that should be really, really good. Like if they put a 64 megapixel camera in the 7A, that's crazy because the Pro and the 6 and the 7 Pro and non-Pro are using a 50 megapixel GN1. So like, what is this thing's camera going to be like? I mean, you're not going to have the same telephoto properties as the 7 Pro, but this thing's camera might be literally on par with the 7 Pro in terms of most normal photographic situations, and you'd be doing it for less than $500 with that refresh rate, with the wireless charging. This could be a really, and the same Tensor 2 chip, presumably as well. So this should be a really, really good mid-range device. I cannot wait to learn more about it. Hopefully I'll have one here to show you guys and to bring you a review when it is released, presumably in not too long. I know that the 6A was in July of this year, so maybe sometime similar next year for something like this. Personally, I'm just really, really excited to see what this 7A looks like. If it really can do the things that we're seeing here, if it really is going to have these sorts of improvements, I think it's going to be an absolutely dominant mid-range sub $500 device. Stay tuned to the channel because I will cover this more as it comes along, and hopefully I'll be able to review it as well. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.